Welcome.
Thank you.
I've informally called this opportunity our series of conversations It's Time, because I think time is an important thing that we all have, and it's important to make the most of it. And I think there was an opportunity to capture people's experiences in lockdown in respect to time, but also more broadly, and bring forward the cool bits and leave the rest behind as we come out. And for those people who are listening, I'm speaking with Bruce Stormer, and you are the director of Moore Markhams, which is an accountancy and advisory services firm in Wellington. Thank you. And I've got you here specifically to bring a commercial perspective and a business perspective to the conversation that we're going to have, and also a personal one. So we'll start off, if you like, by just saying, how has lockdown been? So now we are talking about 8 weeks, and now in week 2. So personally, and also from a business owner's perspective, how's it been?
It's been a really interesting experience. I guess partly the archetypal accountant, sitting behind the computer, number crunching, part of that comes out, and I've quite enjoyed being at home with my computer set up and just working away. But at other times really missed the client contact, really had to try and make sure we have that contact, with the team and with clients and all of that sort of thing. But it's been an interesting experience. Interesting watching how different people have reacted. Friends, some have gone, I'm a people person, I need to be around people, and I can Zoom all I like, but it's not like being with people. And others, I've found Zoom has probably been a really efficient way of working and being able to connect with clients when I need to, and with team members when I need to, and then just carry on work. So it's been a really interesting experience. For me, it's been quite validating in the sense of we had a business continuity plan for Wellington earthquakes, what we were going to do. We've been on a journey as a business of changing our software and our servers, cloud-based and that sort of thing. And so, although not the same as an earthquake, it's allowed us to test whether we can work, and we've been able to work quite well, be able to, when the lockdown was announced, pack up computers and take them to team members' homes, and we've been able to work all the way through. Never as efficient or productive. You're learning a lot of stuff, but I think people are into it and have made the most of it. So it's been a really interesting experience, both personally and from a business point of view.
So what, if anything, has surprised you?
What has surprised me actually is the reaction from the teams, those who really just can't wait to get back to the office. And our office opened from yesterday, from Monday the 18th of May. And so basically there were some who were like, as soon as it's open, we're in there. Let me back. I want to be around people. I just, and others are, no, I'm really happy, and I'm happy to stay at home. And because we want to have those distancing measures and that, we left it up to our team to make that call. And that's been really interesting. Well, it's been interesting too. Some of the reactions, some of the people. I've got one team member whose husband said to me, "I'm making her go back to work, otherwise she'd never want to leave home again."
Oh,
she loves working from home. So it's. That's been I guess it's been just surprising the such strongly, vehemently different attitudes to it, or acceptance of it.
So you talked a little bit before about the adapting, well, you'd already been developing systems and processes that were more technology based. So if you think about all of the systems and processes and ways of working that you took into lockdown yourself and across the team, and any new ones that you might have tested while you were in lockdown, or probably still are to a degree in lockdown, is there anything that stood the test of time that you'll bring across? And similarly, is there anything that you think you just might leave behind now?
Definitely. Some of the systems, we already had one team member who worked remotely from Auckland. And so we had been bringing in, using a lot more channels and teams and communicating, whereas we used to have paper sheets, a lot of all digital for working on clients, but then sheets for job sheets following around the office and tracking. And now that's all been put into channels and chats and teams and processes there, and they're online to go in and enter. I guess a lot of what we had done has and starting to go less paper. We're not paperless, but less paper has stood the test of time, basically, of doing it from offsite as well. Yes, we've refined some of the communication and some of the channels around the flow of work, because you're not in the office to be able to just say to somebody, hey, can you do this or that? And so we found that we needed to be more specific about the information we put in channels or where we put it in teams. Yeah. And so we created a few more channels to allow clear communication rather than just a lot of information coming through and getting lost in a stream of communication.
Yeah.
So that was good. One of the things we brought in was a daily Zoom meeting with all our team. I had, to be honest, I thought that would sort of die out. It was first purpose was to make sure people were up and running. Were there any problems? What do we need to help them and sort out? And they're getting into working from home. But when we talked with the team, they actually liked that coming on. It gave them hey, they could be flexible when they started, but hey, let's make it at 9 o'clock so that at least by 9 o'clock we're all on board, we're all working. Some of them found that really helpful. And when we said, hey, let's go to 2 or 3 times a week, no. So we've kept that and we've narrowed it down and said, hey, if there isn't stuff to talk about, it's a g'day, how are you? Any questions? Right, let's get going. Yeah. Rather than to start with, I would do it to try and build up that sort of morning tea talk and all of, just to get that communication going.
Yeah.
So we've found I don't know yet whether that will continue while we're partially in the office and partially out. We're continuing it. I don't know whether we'll keep that going. If we're in the office, whether we would physically get together for that 5-10 minute morning chat. Probably wouldn't. But yeah.
Have you got a sense yet, I'm making some assumptions here, have you got a sense yet where if people were allowed to just choose, never want to go back working at home again, it was ghastly, through to never want to go into the office again, I'm much more productive at home and healthier and better, or something in the middle? Have you got a sense about where it might settle in your team?
Yeah, well, so we had 4 want to be in, 4 never wanted to be in. Not at this stage for quite a while. Yep. And then there was about 5 or 6 of us in the middle who will go in if we need to. Yep. Myself, I haven't settled on that yet. I love the idea of working from home. I know the need to be in and amongst the team at times. So it might flow. For me personally, this has been a really good time because it's proved that I can work from home. I never really nailed the working from home before. If I'm honest, a lot of I'm going to go and work from home this afternoon was really I just want to get out of the office and I'll go home, or I might do one thing but get distracted with a million others.
Yes.
Whereas this has been good, working, and I know I've convinced myself I know I can do it. So my self-talk has changed. My wife's just had shoulder surgery, so whether it had been COVID or not, I would have been starting to do a bit more working from home, or at least being at home with her at times of the day to help her. The reality is now I know that I can be efficient. I can work from home for a period, go to the office if I need to, come back here and continue working on.
Yeah.
It's one of the things coming out of it is the need to have the right tools. So with our team, we've said to them, if you're wanting that flexibility, that's cool, but you've got to make sure you have the right setup. So some didn't have the environment at home that was helpful to them. They were able to pick up their tools from work and go home, but often you can't just do that backwards and forwards. So, we're working through what that looks like. But if they do want to have that flexibility, then we've got to, they're going to have the tools in both locations.
Yeah, there's certainly some logistical things for people to kind of work their way through, aren't there? I'm interested in the difference between virtual connection and what people are sometimes calling 3D, which is like the personal connection. And And as part of that, someone said to me the other day what the purpose of the workplace might start to become if it's no longer the place that everybody goes to by around about 8 in the morning and disappears by 5 o'clock at night. And productivity's not always, but based on the fact that you're there, so therefore you must be productive. Have you got a view on how connections with people, particularly in a mixed model, might work? Any ideas about how to make it work?
Whoa, you're asking an accountant about a relational thing?
Yes. Get your EQ hat on. I know you've got one.
Yeah, look, I think there's no doubt there are places where that 3D is just invaluable, being able to work through. Having said that, some clients that I thought that was like the only way they wanted to operate very, very much have in this time we were with phone calls and Zoom, have said, actually, you know what, sharing screen, being able to show them stuff, help them through stuff with technology, they're happy. They just want to, it needs to be in a way where there can be free-flowing discussion backwards and forwards. And so not this, what's the correct term, synchronistic or asynchronistic, you know, I'll tell you and then you'll tell me, sort of with email and those sort of things. I've never liked that, and I can see and I agree, it's easier to pick up a phone, have a face-to-face, or go on a Zoom call. I think that the virtual can replace a lot of that, but probably only after there is that started to be that connection, or that sometimes that face to face. I think there's value in both. But you know, for a while, there's been we've served clients that are not in Wellington, not that face to face. So you know, I don't think it's all going to suddenly go back, or it ever was just face to face and nothing else.
It is really, it's going to be interesting to see how it all settles, isn't it?
It is.
I came into this thinking the main way that I engaged with people was face to face, and the exception was virtual, and that's completely flipped. So, I mean, I even had a virtual GP consultation in lockdown. I did have to go in and eventually see the person, got a thing on my arm to get removed, but I thought, oh, this is going to be interesting. So I took the photograph of this thing and sent it through, and she rang me, and we missed each other a couple of times, and we eventually connected and had a consultation over the phone. And I'll do that next time, and I'll only go in, you know, if I'm thinking about how to best use my time for the day, why would I get in the car and drive in, go to see my GP, find a park, there's no park, drive around the block, when I can just pick up the phone or Zoom.
And then you wait half an hour while the GP is always late in the queue and all of that.
Surrounded in coughing COVID. No thanks.
Look, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, I'm involved in some not-for-profit groups, and honestly, just before lockdown, we decided we couldn't have our AGM in Rotorua. We did it by Zoom. Yes, some were saying, oh, we're not getting the connection and the meal times together and talking about stuff. But, you know, we got a lot done, and it saved a whole lot of cost, whole lot of time, and people, especially in voluntary organisations, giving their time freely. Time's precious. So if there are ways that can, you know, save people's time, absolutely.
So I'm digressing, but your experience at that AGM, was it the AGM?
Yeah, it was the AGM, yep.
Yeah. So they're usually pretty compact anyway in terms of time, aren't they?
This one sort of becomes an AGM. It's normally a weekend. The AGM, there are technical parts of the AGM, but it becomes a big discussion and an opportunity for a lot. So it's normally a start Friday night, finish Sunday afternoon sort of thing. So we started Saturday morning, we finished late Saturday afternoon. And yeah, they you know, I had to chair it down into a narrower, so there wasn't as wide ranging discussions, but we still got through a fair bit, and we wouldn't have had everyone turn up given the circumstances that are in place. It was literally the Saturday where they announced, you know, that we're going to level 2, and then on the Monday we went to, you know, to level 4. So there was already concern around.
So if you think about creating a future-proofed workplace, so for the people you've got now, the new people coming in, the new ways that we're going to be working, particularly using technology, and having people do useful, purposeful work, which is what we're all talking about these days, as well as having the opportunity to balance that with stuff outside of work, whatever that might be. Where do you think the biggest opportunity is for businesses like yours?
For us, yeah, I think it is just the flexibility for team of where they want to be based. For us, I think it means we can potentially get people work. Well, we do work with a team member in Auckland now. We had a good team member. We wanted to keep her. She moved to Auckland. It just worked well. That forced us to bring in a few changes when that happened about a year ago. I just think now that you were in the past. You might have thought twice about somebody, who had to travel a long way to work each day, and say, "Oh, I don't know about that." They might get sick of travelling and can't come in, whereas now, someone comes from another city and is in another city. If they are good at their job, they have the skills, and a lot of those skills are, as well as the technical, the EQ, that can relate, that can do all of this sort of thing. Fantastic.
What about another country?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. If we had a team member who wanted to move to another country and could do, there are certain limits around service, being available at certain times. We'll still have to have frameworks of, hey, we'll need you to be available a certain part of the day for us to be able to interact with you, etc. So I don't see us going and building a team in the UK at the exact opposite time zone and all of that sort of thing.
That would be tricky.
It would. But that said, if there were a team member who wanted to do extended travel and base himself doing some work for a period of time, I'm sure that's the flexibility to try and make it work. If you've got a good team member, they're valuable, you want to keep them, then you do.
It really does create opportunities. So what do you think would be the obstacle then to creating a workplace like that?
There's still, for some jobs in our team, it has to be on site. So our support team, a number of our support team, their jobs, they're on site. They're handling the couriers, the records coming in, the scanning it out so it goes on the paper, on the digital, handling the mail, all of those sorts of things, the phones, systems coming in, all of that sort of thing. So there are certain roles that are location specific,
even though they haven't been location specific, or have you had them there? No, you haven't.
No, but this is what we're finding is we could make it work and have stuff that they could do while we were all out and no one was in the office and it was locked down. As soon as it comes, there's clients wanting to drop stuff off, this and stuff, and now we have some team members in the office, then they can't work efficiently without the support structures around them. They get into, got to answer the phones, got to do this, got to do that. And so basically, in the lockdown, it wasn't a problem because no one could do anything.
Got you.
And so, we had a phone. The support person had it at home, rang in the office. It gave a cell phone number. They ring up and they could pass messages around. Not efficient, but it worked.
Yeah. Got you.
But it's harder to do that when you are operating out of or partially operating out of a place again. Yeah.
Any other obstacles?
I would have said acceptance from clients of that approach, but that's all. This is, if you'd asked me, even 6 months ago, 3 months ago, no, I think people think, no, you have to be here, and clients will expect you to be here and all of that sort of thing. Whereas now, and it's like, I would have Zoom calls before lockdown with clients, but a lot less would, no, I'll come and see you or come by and see me or whatever. Whereas now they've had to come to grips with it in some form or other. They'll be more accepting of it, I think. I don't think there's going to be suddenly, no. I know we're all zoomed out and sick of Zoom calls and all of this, but when we go back to whatever the new normal is, I think there'll be that mix. So there's balance. It comes down to having balance in things. So I think a lot of the obstacles have gone because people have seen it can work, and actually, hey, I don't need to see someone physically right this minute. In fact, I can get a better response, quicker response, interaction just by getting online.
It has been profound, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Some of the people that have been most profoundly affected that I've spoken to have been the people who've had to commute, say, 2 hours each way for years. And then all of a sudden they're waking up thinking, why did I do that? Well, it's just the way, custom and practice really, but their lives have been profoundly positively impacted to the point where they're saying, please don't ever send me back. It would just, there is like no benefit for me going there apart from occasionally connecting with people that I already know so I can do it on Zoom. So there are a range and some fascinating, I think when I was speaking to you, I might have sent you the research that's coming out, international research on, it's mirroring the things that I'm hearing from people in New Zealand about the benefits of having a mixed model environmentally and well-being and all sorts. So, gosh, it's been amazing. So
certainly. I mean, years and years and years ago, I had this dream of living in the Hawke's Bay.
There you go.
And maybe commuting to Wellington and working from home a bit. And there, we didn't have the systems. It was just a dream. It wouldn't. Now, I could see how that could happen. I'm not about to up and move there for other reasons now, but I can see how it could happen. And in fact, my attitude to team members wanting to do it would be different too now.
It's I read I've talked about it often because there were some fabulous statistics in it, but the book The 4-Day Week by Andrew Barnes, they did an opt-in pilot at Prudential Insurance where, do you know much about that?
A little, but yeah.
And it was interesting, and I have thought about it in the last week about the biggest obstruction often were the people in the most senior positions, either in big organisations or even businesses, where there was this view that if you can't see people, they're not productive. I was thinking about your business. You've got you'll have time-bound deliverables, which are probably more easily measured than, say, a community organisation or a health department where they're after behavioural change over generations. So measuring outcomes and getting people comfortable with the fact that if you can't see them, they actually might be more productive than if you can see them sitting at your desk being interrupted all the time by coffees and other people. So yeah, I think it has been.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a lot is around trust and well, people say it's about trust, and now they, or could we trust our people to be productive and work from home and that? I'm not sure it was trust. It was more just didn't understand because maybe they didn't trust themselves too. I didn't really believe I was that productive at home. I liked the idea, but didn't believe I was as productive when I was at home. But now this has forced me and proved I can. And so my mindset's changed, and therefore how I would view other people.
Yeah. So
changed.
If you think about productivity, because that's what the book is based around. It's not sending people home to be well and therefore be productive. It's sending people home to be productive, and the byproduct is this enormous work-life balance and happiness and well-being. And it's a commercial organisation, so it had to start like that. But if you think about your own productivity, say on a scale of 100%, you can't pick 70 because everyone picks that as an even. How would you estimate the change in productivity once you settled into being there? How would you measure it?
I think I would say for me more productive. For the team, a bit less productive, but that was around the extra things we were putting in to keep that connection. And once we sort of looked at that and said, hey, you know what, we don't need to have 30-minute meetings at the start of a day. They can be 5 minutes. Those sort of things that improved the productivity. I guess there is it's still yet to be proven when we come to, in our case, look at what was done. There's one thing spending their time on client work. It's whether they efficiently spent it on client work. When we come to bill it out, can we bill it out, or did they spend too much time in it because it was harder, because they didn't have someone just to bounce off? So that's still an unknown.
Yep.
In my
you've got
view.
some useful measures, though. You've got ways of measuring.
Yes.
Productivity.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so the other side of it is, I mean, we're not talking about new team members, so we're talking about people who've been in with this technology. Another whole thing to consider when a new team member comes on, like a graduate, how do you train them if you're all virtual?
Yep.
How do you get the sitting alongside and just walking them through and passing that knowledge across as they ask questions backwards and forwards, which can actually be quite unproductive for the person who's buddying up to them because they're spending time training. But how does that look? And I guess I don't have my head around how that might look. With technology, sharing screens, be able to go in and show them what to do. Using things like Loom. Here's a little video of how you do this. So I'll record it once, and you can look at it many times when you forget how to do it, rather than me having to show you again and again and again. Taking that time to record some stuff and have it there as a resource for them. So even that might, change how we do certain things. But yeah, haven't got to grappling with that yet.
Yeah. I think as we all grapple with it and everyone has a go at it and more people expect to come into jobs, I think this is where it's going to go, expecting flexibility, then, and if they're not brand new, they may well come in with ideas, mightn't they? Yeah, on how to do it.
Yep.
I'm just mindful of the time. Right. One last question for you. If you were doing these interviews and you were exploring ways of helping people get the best out of the experience, what question would you ask that I haven't asked about this?
I think I don't know how to phrase it, but probably around the mental health side of it. I think for some people have struggled more than others with it, and how you identify that and help people in that situation. Some find that that isolation and that has been hard, and or maybe expectations on themselves that are greater than what is expected of them as an employer, what you expect of them, or just understanding where they're at. So how you help people through those sort of things, and some of the people where they've been in an environment, people around who will be able to say, do this, do this, do this, as opposed to now they're at home and they're not necessarily having that direct instructive input into them. How you help them work through that, what sort of tools or approach for that sort of thing, I think are so that we all, we look at the great side, it's great, and all the things it does. For some people, it just really doesn't work, and it can cause some greater stress, I think.
I have to, even my own circumstance at, my day job is the thing that made the biggest difference for us, but it still sat in the back of my mind for ages, was when our chief executive said there was no indication from the minister, because we were a government department, from the minister that there was going to be any job losses. And to hear that in the first week was just profoundly useful. However, it still sits in the back of your mind because of the uncertainty about it. So I think it does create uncertainty for people. And the more we learn about neuroscience and how our brain doesn't like uncertainty, and I was just looking at something before I was waiting to talk to you, if the brain can't make sense of something and it's uncertain, it won't go to the positive, it'll go to the negative. So in a crisis, it's
been
just
there. Even during this time, you're right. It's that uncertainty, and not knowing is harder than knowing. Look, this is going to be the issue. This is happening. It's definitely. Definitely
I think
harder.
it certainly raised the profile. I follow LinkedIn a lot, and there's been really useful material on the psychology of crises and working from home. So I think it's highlighted some quite good things about being human that we can carry forward, because we are always going to be human. And there'll always be crises. Hopefully it won't always be COVID, but we'll have crises in our lives and we'll behave and respond like humans do. With a bit of luck, we'll be saying, well, it's not COVID, so I can get through anything if it's not COVID. Some relativity.
Yeah, true. But there's always something. There's always something around that will be, and certain of us, I suffer from depression, I know, so I've got to watch trigger points for that. And this could really easily, at times, I could see myself, but pull up,
isn't that interesting?
talk to somebody, talk it through. And I guess that's where my concern comes from. I've had experience. I know what when I'm going down certain thinking paths, and and I talk to people. When I first had it, and if I'd have been in lockdown, I wouldn't have known what was happening and who to talk to or how to express what I was going through. That's I think is a big thing, is those coping skills. If you've not experienced them and you're suddenly in the situation.
Thank you for sharing that, because there'll be lots. I mean, I suffer from anxiety, have since I was in my 20s. And if I look back over the time I've been in lockdown, I feel pretty chuffed about how I've been. But I've had my moments, and it takes off. Your mind takes off in a world of its own, unaccompanied. And if you don't scramble and quickly and haul it back, you're all over the place. It's yes, it's been challenging, but so I found, even just reading things about it on a regular basis and knowing that other people experience the same thing, whether they've got anxiety or depression or not, it's been a reminder that we are human and we all respond in different ways.
And when I think that's why we need to be authentic. We need to be with our team. Even as the boss, I've told my team this. They know. And they can tell if I'm struggling, and some of them, they'll say something, and it gives, they have the permission to say that and speak into my life and say, hey, you're struggling, what can I do? Or, hey, I think your thinking's, a little bit today. What do you need to do? Do you need some time out? But just that, but if you haven't got that environment, and I guess I wonder whether if people coming in purely to a remote environment haven't built that relationship, whether they would have that comfort to, one, disclose what they're going through, and two, to be able to then input into other people and understand other people. So that's why I think that the hybrid office type of the future, even if somebody's a long way away, there'll be times you're going to say, look, we need to come together for training, just to get to know, or to celebrate, or to do the Christmas party or whatever. We need to, if we can, be together, so that we get to see each other and learn and relate in the outside of just straight work online.
I think that's a really valid point for anyone listening, because I know my team really well, and I've got a great boss, and we can just say anything. But I've been involved in Sport New Zealand in a piece of work that's gone across teams. So I've been speaking to, by the end of this week, about 40 people, some of whom I've never really. I spoke to someone today, and he said to me, you and I have just said hello a couple of times in 2 years. There was no judgment. It's just, and he said, I'm an introvert, so I hardly say hello to anybody anyway. But and he's right. I had a real opportunity to get inside other people's houses for a start and have a conversation with them. And so my initial assessments of them have been kind of blown out of the park, and I've now got a much closer relationship with them. So if we think about ways of working, apart from where we work and the hours we do it, there could well be a case, and I know some people are talking about structures within workplaces that have you work across teams, so that you have this connection with people, particularly if most of your work is virtual. Less so probably if you're in the office. But
interesting. I've never worked for a big organisation, so I've always been in this smaller, where you know everybody, and you. But so I can.
I just feel privileged to work for my organisation, and the leadership. And I've heard this from others too. The leadership has just been outstanding in our organisation. It's a bit like the government: people first, genuinely. people first, get that right first.
Yep.
Regular catch-ups, genuine concern about people, and it's not huge. Well, we've 120 people across cities.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been in many ways really. Someone said to me today, if I'm allowed to work from home, I'll never leave this organisation again. And she's a great person. You wouldn't want to leave her. So it's that important to her to get flexibility. So anyway, I could ramble on about this forever, and you've got clients to go and probably have conversations with. But I really want to thank you very much for this opportunity. And thanks again. And all the best when you decide how you're going to create your new team.
Indeed. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, no, it's exciting.
Great.
I'm very very excited about it. So.
Likewise.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Julie. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.